we're all working at different things.
Then
We could bring 3 or 4 different things.
I think that would be good. Anybody?
No, but I think it benefits really from outside.
Well,
let me start with you, Liam. What? Tell us about what you're doing and what the nature of it is, and what your interest is, and who you're working with.
The Happy Valley Foundation is interested in creating a New Age community, and those of us here this morning are part of this effort and have an interest in the development of this community. Gatto, Institute, which is West, which is a branch newly formed here on the West Coast. There's a branch in New York, Buffalo, New York, which puts out a magazine called Human Dimensions. And I think Luke can tell us more about that.
Are we supposed to?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, the Human Dimensions Institute, that's upstate New York, Buffalo, New York, is dealing in parapsychology related to the biological and physical sciences that have evolved to the state where they realize, as in relativity, that all things do have certain levels of spectrum consciousness in relation to the physical world and the consciousness world. And the Association for the Advancement of Science is now accepted the fact that there does seem to be realities beyond the normal physical senses that man can perhaps manipulate or at least deal with on some supra-personal levels within an integrated group of people or within a society to further the benefits of medicine and science and social life among communities and the world. And this seems to be coming together at a very rapid rate today, technologically, through the media, socially through the community, medicinally through all sorts of methodologies in medicine and science today for healing. And the greatest impact of this has been on the scientific community, who are now opening up to the fact that we can relate on different levels through healing or through just social converse that are on levels that are higher or lower, where it doesn't really, we really don't know where they are. We're looking for them on the physical, scientific laboratory plane. But they're there. There's a state of being between people, an energy, an interface of energy that works between people that is so subtle and yet so powerful. It's quite magnificent. And it comes through especially in the psychic healing and the very famous ESP experiments that they've done in laboratories has shown this to be true. That not only do we have ESP, but we also seem to have the ability to heal, to have precognitive and retrocognitive experiences with states of time, and that what Einstein was trying to bring across in the early 1900s is now a fact that can be realized, not only intuitively and subjectively, but objectively, with every person working together as a scientist or as a metaphysician. That is, we are finding that our communications between each other is gone beyond just the physical and the material and the technological.
And I think Rosalind...
Excuse me, let's cut there just introduce people, maybe starting with yourself and saying a bit about why you happen to be, or what are some of the different ways in which you get together.
Rosalind has here a copy of the policy
of the foundation,
of the statement concerning the...
Wouldn't that be too long to read that?
Yeah, I think it would get too...
Yes. Read it. I know.
Too much. But you could say in your own words a little bit about what you're doing.
Pulling us together here.
Oh, is it down now?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Fine.
Well,
Picking up me too.
Yes,
so
you know that
you
we
can
are
be
the
casual.
Happy.
The process piece.
We are the Happy Valley Foundation, and this was started years and years ago by Dr. Anne Besant. She bought this land and it for community of people, and interests and institutions and all kinds of things, even industry she mentioned. And so far, some of these people have come to Happy Valley. Luke Gatto just now described what they're trying to do. He'll tell you about the building they're putting up. Mr. and Mrs. Williams are buying the land, the old school ground down below, and they're starting a community. This all springs from Dr. Besant's ideas of community and of people living and working together. And they're going to have also a school. Beatrice Wood is now part of the foundation. As you see her house up here with folk art and folk art slides. Isn't that it, Beatrice?
Museum of Folk
Museum
Arts.
of Folk Art. That's
World Folk Art slides.
That's right. And
It's really a library, isn't it?
A library.
Library,
A
yes.
slide that can be used by scholars.
And so this is part of the community. And Liam O'Gallagher is the chairman of the planning committee, which coordinates all these things together. And let me see, that's one. We have, of course, the Happy Valley School, which we've had for 29 years, is moved up here, and which is flourishing, which is doing very well. Austin B can probably tell us a little something about the new community which hopes to introduce a college here. So would you tell?
Right.
You tell about that. Beatrice Wood can tell about the museum.
Right, and the library.
And the library.
And your school.
About your school. Austin B, will you tell about the idea
All
of
right.
the college?
Right. We have a group that's been associated now with the foundation for over a year, headed up by Dr. Benita Reyes, who is from the Philippines, was the founder and president of the University of the City of Manila, who's very much interested in the development of consciousness. And he and associates have founded an organization which they call the World Institute of Avastology meaning study of consciousness. And it is their intention, as they move along, to develop a university here on the land right immediately next to this building. That is in progress. They are now having classes and will soon be actually, I think, buildings here on the land, with that in mind.
Who can say something about the land itself? The land has a special attraction now, and it always has.
Well, often you know a good deal about the history of the land, and I think that's important too.
Well, you know that Dr. Besant acquired this land in the 20s and dedicated it to her ideals, which you set forth in your book to some degree. And it was her intention that, as Rosalind has said, that there would be a community here, which would have educational institutions, really an ideal utopian, in a sense, type of community. Its intention was to help with the development of a new race type, which she foresaw at that time, developing here in America. And it is an absolutely beautiful piece of land. She had a real vision, we all feel, who've been associated with it for many years. And we think that now it is coming much closer to the fruition of her ideas with these various groups who want to develop concepts of the New Age, as it's being called these days. And we're providing space for these various groups to use the various portions of the land on a long-term agreement basis. Groups which have objectives and purposes and plans which are consistent with Dr. Besant's ideals and those that we have too, which are the same. Would you say that covered?
Yes, I think.
Very well, I think.
Yes.
Is anything else being done on the land or with the land? New buildings are going up.
They're all
I
in
think
the
Luke could talk
development
about the
plan.
solar.
Luke could tell about the plans for his particular group that he has in mind.
Yes, going along with how we feel the whole tradition, the whole meaning of what is supposed to happen here within the groups for use of the land, we feel that Anne Besant was probably a primary ecologist. She felt that the land should be protected and utilized in a very universal manner, a universal manner that is not only biological but also sociological in its impact with the groups, so that they should work together and share. Each of the different groups that are coming, that are attracted to the land, that have been invited by the Happy Valley Foundation, are asked to share and keep open their buildings and their facilities for all groups to share. And I think this is a very fine idea, and we like it very much. And we're very sensitive to the ecology of the earth, and we feel that the ancient art of geomantism, the dowsing for water, the ability to ask the universe for rain, and to also tell the universe or what we intend to do and ask its permission. All of these ancient traditions we want to follow, because we feel that in the past great civilizations have arisen doing this sort of thing, where they were in sensitivity with the universe, as the ancient Chinese were. And so we're building a bioshelter that will be utilizing solar energies, wind energies, and methane conversion system for waste. And it'll be a total enclosed shelter that will be open to nature as much as possible, but also flowing with the system of energies that we're used to, having electricity from the wind energies, having heat and cooling from the solar energies that we hope to tap, and utilizing every bit of our effluent and waste to be recycled for agriculture, for greenhouses, which will be a part of the whole effect of the bioshelter, and just for water recycling. So we'll be able to save a great deal.
Would you say that the Ojai Valley has always been something of a sacred spot to various groups, including Native Americans?
This seems true. There was a Dr. Marcel Vogel who was here recently from IBM.
Very famous scientist.
Who lectured at Krotona, and he pointing out that from Fillmore to Santa Barbara there is this sensitive, this magnetic field. I think it's called a ley line, isn't it?
Ley line. In geomanticism, they have these different concurrent energies, flows throughout the earth, where there are energy concentrations in different areas of the earth. And in America, in California particularly, there are about 3 or 4 sites in California that are these energy spots that have been basically protected and cultivated by the people who live there. It's almost an unconscious, collective unconscious protection that's emanated from the populace. Ojai is still a very pristine and very beautiful little valley, upper and lower valley, that has been revered and taken care of by its citizenry. And I think this is one of the main attractions we've had when we were invited here, was that it is so pristine, and there is a feeling, a very nice high feeling of the elemental nature here that is untouched.
This was true. You see, the Matilaha Springs, which is close by, was a healing center for the native Indians, American Indians, and Indians came from as far as Colorado to spend time there. So it's been traditionally known as a very high valley.
Why was Dr. Besant attracted to
Well, often I think it's mentioned that Dr. Besant was also aware of these forces and this energy.
Yes, she has a great faith in the place for some reason, performing this, that in the future the community would be formed here. And this is why she left it in the Declaration of Trust, the purposes. And she didn't know what was going to happen. You see, that was many years ago, 1930, just before 30, I think, 27. And then the Happy Valley School, as you know, was formed, which is 9 years now, and it's moved up here. And this hill over there, you put in your book about the girls' dormitory. So that whole hill is to be developed by the Happy Valley School. And
Rosalind, why were you, and then why were some others attracted here?
Well, a group of us, you've mentioned it also in your book, the ones who were, thought of forming a school. And well, it just had a natural birth and outgrowth. I mean, we were just attracted by the ideas, of course, of Dr. Besant.
Or the evolution, I guess, of
Yes.
those ideas.
Yes, and
conjunction
it's just
with-
it's had a very natural unfoldment, the whole thing.
You feel a connection with those ideas now, in a way.
Very much so, and we were last night at the school's graduation, and the children's play, and it was just wonderful. I mean, the whole thing is taking hold again in a nice way. We had a few bad years.
Yes, I think we all feel at the Happy Valley School there's a reemergence of a great cohesive spirit that Anne Besant first founded, and it's remarkable when you think that all of these young groups feel that consciousness is such a new idea, and then you look back and read something out of the Happy Valley Annals where Anne Besant founded this place for a whole new vision of a new consciousness, as she called race, but she would never have used that word, I think, as a connotation arrives today. Before Hitler. You see, she used this in the 20s. And this was the ethnologist's way of saying consciousness.
He might have got it from her.
Right, he might have got it from her. But what she meant by race was that through integration of many methodologies and people, there would be open sharing of a penetration of ideas and methodologies of living together in science and industry, technology, and in relation to the universe, the cosmic universe that Alice Bailey and Anne Besant and Blavatsky spoke so highly of.
And it's interesting also that when she bought this land, she was advised against it because there was no water here. But she said that when the time comes, there would be. And
right. And now we're dowsing for wells, and we have the Casitas water.
But I think so much of what of her vision, and so much of that we experience on a daily basis, is that it was not something to be a flash in the pan to rise up in 10, 20 years or so and reach its climax. She saw a vision that extended for hundreds of years. And that's what we feel that we're taking part in building something that isn't to just rise and fall, but something that will be a mountain that will stand for quite a while and serve many different purposes.
Yes, indeed. She said it would go on for eons, and we'd make many mistakes, and we'd fail, and we'd go on again and again. I think we all know what that means.
We've seen that quite a bit.
What were some of the mistakes and some of the failures?
Well, nothing too much so far. I don't think we've done that much to have too many mistakes, but we did with the school. We had a terribly difficult time moving the school from the lower campus up here to Ojai, and then a lot of difficulties connected with that. We're just coming out of it now. We feel very
financial difficulties or
natural to the times. I mean, the young people, depending on different heads of schools, got into the drug situation, and lots of schools were in difficulty. We're out of all of this now, and it's taken, as they say, a new lease, and we're very happy about the Happy Valley School. These young people are starting, as I told you, another community down below where the old school was, and they're going to have a community.
In the process of relocating in the Upper Valley, all the buildings that were formerly the Happy Valley School were abandoned and have been rented out, but now we are going to start an elementary, on an elementary level, to try to further the ideals that Happy Valley School is doing on a secondary level, which we see as a logical outgrowth of the whole process.
And you're going to be a community also.
Yes.
Yes.
what sort of a community?
A supportive community for the school. Everybody in the community would believe in the integrative educational process and be supportive of the school.
What about the influence of Krishnamurti on what's come about? What
Rosalind's probably best.
I don't think I'm the right one to answer that. Can you answer it all, Austin? It's hard. It's a different.
Well, I think his ideas on education, himself, Krishnamurti, and Aldous Huxley, and various other people together sort of had a good deal of influence on the Happy Valley School, and on that level and in that way continue to. I think that
There's an accumulation of forces here other than Krishnamurti.
well, yes,
But he's one of those very important.
Who were the founders? The founders of Happy Valley School. So we have a.
Yes, there were a number. Of course, Aldous Huxley, Krishnamurti, Rajagopal, Do you remember
Dr. Ferrando?
Who?
Guido
Dr.
Ferrando.
Ferrando.
Dr. Ferrando was the first head of the school, and he was a great force in the school. And
Famous Dante scholar from
yes,
Italy.
yes, and he was the head of the school for many years.
Does the school have a sort of a motto?
A motto, yes. The motto, Aldous Huxley gave it, "Un apprendo." I am still learning. From the portrait, which is the painting in Madrid of Goya, with an old man in his 90s leaning on a cane. He said, "I'm still learning."
Yeah, that's
Un apprendo.
Yes.
So our school has always kept that motto.
I think the major principle of what we're doing, all of us, is that we are integrating from different backgrounds and with different personalities and especially different leaders. And no one of us are cultivating or arriving at a cult over one personality. And this is what the Happy Valley has stressed just
I think
tremendously.
just to avoid that, that in action, maybe each one of you, Liam, maybe you could start by telling us who you are and a little bit about the group that I just heard about last night in the schoolhouse, what you're studying.
That was a graduation.
Which group did he hear?
No,
Which group?
I heard that you were meeting I thought in the public schoolhouse or something, that it was indirect information, and that you were making certain studies in parapsychology. Is that correct?
I think it was rather too indirect.
It's from radio people.
I see. Well, I taught at the Happy Valley School some 20 years ago, and have only recently returned here, that is in the last year and a half, and have become part of the planning committee for the development of the community. Yeah, and I'm working with the Happy Valley Foundation in that.
Well, I think you should bring in your authorship of your book in relation to media, communications, and the new technologies of the future, which will be relating consciousness
Yes, good.
to
Well,
a direct experience.
Let him then.
And that's
yes.
exactly what he's been doing.
Please say something about your book.
Yes.
Tell us your name, please. Otherwise, I'll have to narrate it.
Mr. Liam O'Gallagher.
My name is Liam O'Gallagher, and I have been interested in communications and the new media, particularly the